All right. Well, thanks, Sam, for that introduction to Tracy. And Tracy, I agree with Sam 100% that you absolutely deserve that recognition and award today. So, for our next award, our presenter for that award also has a long history with Dial Self. He started as a youth worker in 1999 and moved through the ranks of the programs all the way to a director of programs, multiple programs. He currently works at the Franklin Regional Council of Governments. Yes, all right, good. And serves as a member of the Greenfield Town Council. So Mark Maloney.
Good evening, everybody. I want to thank Phil and all the organizers of tonight's event for including me this evening. It's an absolute pleasure to be able to say a few words honoring Jared Libby, tonight's recipient of the 2015 Annual Program Alumni Award. This award is presented to prior participants in any of Dial Self's programs who demonstrate the benefits of Dial Self program participation reflected in the alumni's present life, as well as the success and accomplishment of goals and an ethic of giving back that they gained through participation in Dial Self programming. I did serve as the Dial Self AmeriCorps program director for 5 years in the early 2000s, and during that time, I hired Jared to serve as a member in the 2003-2004 term corps, where he was placed at the Brickhouse Community Resource Center to engage local youth and teen center programming. For anybody in the audience who might not know what AmeriCorps is all about, it's a national service program wherein members of any given corps engage in 10 to 12 months of service in exchange for a very modest stipend and an education award upon successful completion of their term. I feel your pain. AmeriCorps programs focus on education, health, public safety, or the environment. Youth Serve, then the name for the Dial Self AmeriCorps program that we now know as RISE, places members in a variety of youth-serving organizations to foster both youth engagement and leadership. So there's a few distinct elements to AmeriCorps service. There's the actual direct service in and of itself. So in the case of Youth Server RISE, that's working to provide youth programming in Franklin County. Maybe Hampshire County now as well, I'm not sure. Yes. There's also a member development component. And so throughout their term of service, Corps members are also asked to be looking within to engage in some critical reflection upon the meaning that they're deriving from their service, the value that they attribute to that contribution, and the individual necessary agreements to bring their best self to their service and their life. Jared came into the Corps during a national shift around the member development requirements for all AmeriCorps programs. Each program has to set its own distinct objectives, but they have to have specific objectives around both direct service and member development. So in the early 2000s, the Corporation for National and Community Service had shifted that member development objective away from kind of general leadership and asked that there be more of a focus around civic engagement training. This is a pretty new mandate, and so in that first year, the corporation provided us directors with a packaged curriculum to implement. So in the 2002-2003 term year, prior to Jared's service, we had used this curricula. And while we made it through unscathed, mutiny was uttered in more than one management meeting as we tried to figure out how we were going to meet the requirements of this grant, while also asking our members to participate in trainings that kind of harkened back more to classroom civics. The majority of our Corps members at that time tended to be recent college graduates who were taking a gap year to explore career options. And they were not pleased to be forced to memorize which number President Abe Lincoln was. Anybody want to guess? Anyone? 16th, boom. Or how old a citizen needed to be in America to run for president. 35. Members were looking for meaningful experience, and the packaged curriculum was kind of forced, it lacked inspiration, and it did fall flat. So speeding ahead to that next term, this term that Jared would join us for, we knew we needed to be doing things differently. The Corps that Jared participated in for that term was a very remarkable group of people who quickly stepped up to the plate to help shape their own experience that year. Jared and his colleagues in the Corps were clear that they wanted to explore the notions of service, of involvement, and contribution in a way that was resonant for them, and they guided me in the development of an engagement curriculum over the course of that year. In this sense, we came together as a community to identify what we needed, what we valued, and how we could best use our time as a team to learn from each other. One thing that Jared and his colleagues valued was an orientation to thinking about service and contribution at a local level. All of the members recognized the importance of paying attention to the issues playing out on the national stage, but each felt that they could experience themselves as a meaningful contributor or an agent of change more at a local level. So we explored the Greenfield Charter as a way of better understanding how local governance works. We talked with mayors and department heads. We explored how to engage with the petition process in municipalities. And we read and discussed essays on engagement and activism to explore the experience of regular people who took stances and actions based on their convictions. We examined a national culture that turns a small pool of historic activists into icons and heroes, and affirmed that we didn't need to be mythic in our efforts. We just needed to be genuine and hold on to even the smallest kernel of belief that living our convictions in our daily lives was a path to being part of the solution. So throughout his term, Jared was doing many things. He was showing up to the Brick House and running a teen center with both drop-in hours and specific programming. Jared brought his love of the arts, particularly music, and combined that with his skill in engaging with teens and young people in an easygoing, friendly manner that made them feel welcomed, heard, and respected as integral members in their community. But Jared was also contributing to a team of 12 other Corps members and bringing his dry wit and keen observances into a discussion around the meaning of service and the value of experiencing oneself as a contributor to their community. Jared has always been well-liked and respected by supervisors, colleagues, and youth, for he carries the ability to be fully present in his conversations and interactions. Both then and now, Jared believes in simply doing his work, showing up, being his best self, and offering what he can to improve the community. So what makes Jared distinctive in terms of this program alumni award tonight is not just what a rock star, or more appropriately for Jared, a bluegrass star or folk star, he was during his service. Am I about to push this thing right off the... Yeah, I better be careful. It's also what he's accomplished since that year of service. Jared could have selected many paths for himself, but he chose to make his life here. Instead of moving back to Maine or some far-flung place, Jared stayed here in the Valley to build a career, a family, and a life for himself. So a dozen years after his entry-level service at the Brick House Community Resource Center, Jared is now the organization's Director of Operations, providing leadership development, economic development, youth development, and improving overall community health and well-being. Jared now hosts AmeriCorps members at the Brick House and actively participates with other community groups and stakeholders, including the Gil-Montague Community School Partnership, the Mass Grad Task Force, and the Communities That Care Coalition, which 2 years ago honored Jared with their own annual award, the Mike Fritz Community Builder Award, so he's really racking them up. Jared makes this community stronger, and the people he works with find themselves better for it. I say this through my own personal experience of Jared, for it's he and his colleagues in AmeriCorps who inspired me and challenged me to identify my own values around contribution, participation, and service. I'm one person amongst many who are better for having worked with Jared, and it's both a privilege and a pleasure to present him tonight with the Dial Self 2015 Program Alumni Award. So please welcome me in honoring Mr. Jared Libby.
It's not so often you get to be introduced by such a distinguished city councilor. So when I asked Phil if I needed to, say anything at this event here, he asked me if I had anything that I learned from AmeriCorps that I continue to use in my regular work. And it didn't really take me any amount of time to come up with a very short list of some things that I really do use every day. And I've come to find that these are things that are not only useful in work, but really also in marriage and parenting and every other piece of life. So one of those is to meet people where they're at. And despite the poor grammar of that idea, it really is important, how many of the problems in the world are caused by an unwillingness to try and see someone else's point of view. So that's huge. Being careful and taking time to use the right words is another thing that I really learned while I was in AmeriCorps. You don't have a second opportunity to say your first thought, if that makes sense. Rushing to judgment or saying something without taking the time to really understand if that's how someone else might perceive your words. It's really important to make sure that you think about things. You don't always have to have an immediate answer if someone asks you a question. Take time and think. That'll help stave off a good number of problems. Then finally, I'd like to say that I really learned to be reliable. I think that's so important in youth work and in community work. It doesn't mean that you have to agree to do everything. And in fact, it's really important not to agree to do everything. But if you're going to do something, do it and do it well. And if people are counting on you, you better follow through. So I do my best to do that and try to remember to say no when I need to, though I'm not the greatest at that. But I think that it's really important. Everyone appreciates someone who follows through on the things they say they're going to do. So I'm honored, I'm humbled to be here today and recognized for this. I'm also really happy that I'm in a position that I still get to work with the great folks over at Dial Self. And so thank you.